Well, hi there. A lot of people have been asking me how I make my owl eye toe-up sock, so I'm going to show you how I do that. I will show you the toe um, first, and then later on this video will be the whole project. So there it is. And it doesn't have any seams or anything, and it's in owl eye stitch, which makes a really nice cushy toe sock. So I will get set up and I will show you how to do that. Is you're going to need a loom, and any of the looms that are in the Nifty Knitter set or any of those sets that have 24 pegs is fine to use, will work fine, and a bulky yarn. Now I have very small feet, so I've decided to do it. This is 24 pegs too, but it's a 1/2 inch loom and a gauge loom, and most of the ones in the Nifty Knitter and all those sets are 5/8 inch, so it's just a slight bit different. But this gives me my size. It's just a little smaller diameter. So this is a Cindy wood loom, but this one would work fine too if you had this, or any sock loom that fits you will work. The math is just easy for me to do on here. But what you do is you take, this is 24 pegs, so 24 pegs. So you take that in half, which is 12 pegs, which put me right here. 12 pegs, right in the middle. And so then I broke that into 3 so that I would have 3 marked pegs here, 3 unmarked, and then 3 marked pegs here. Now if I'd had a different number, I still would have put it in half and then into thirds, and you would round up or down depending, and you would have either equal, or if it didn't divide equally, you might have 5 pegs here instead of 4, but it would still work out more or less the same, would be fine, and you wouldn't notice it. So this is marked, and so it's marked for both the toe I'm going to do, and it's also marked for when I do the heel. And this is why I like this method. It's just like doing the heel, basically. I don't know why it's not out there all over the place, but it is one toe cast on, and it's the one I prefer for house socks. So the yarn I have is wool spun. I found out that Lion Brand has quit making it, but I really like it for house socks. It's just a really nice yarn for it, but you might not be able to get it, but if you have a stockpile, you might. I'll tell you the color in case you have it. It's Mesa print, probably a better way to say it. Okay. So, oh yeah, the stitch markers I have are just needle knitter, small stitch markers. I got them on Amazon. They go over the peg and they work really well, but any kind of stitch markers that work well for you would be fine. So I'm going to start by casting on. Now you might find another cast on you like with this, but do not use E-wrap cast on because you're going to really see it. You want a cast on that's nice and tight, and then your project's going to look a lot nicer. So I'm just going to do a slip knot. So all I do to do a slip knot is I just flip this around and put the yarn through like that, pull it into a slip knot. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is put the slip knot on the number 1 peg. And then we're going to do a chain cast on, a crochet chain type cast on, which I do without a crochet hook. You just take your hook, put it into the loop, and then pull the working yarn up through the top. Okay, so when you do that, you've got this loop here, and you're just going to put that behind the number 2 peg, take the working yarn, pull it through, and then tighten it up. And then I'm just going to take this loop and make sure that it's really tight here. Okay, next peg, go behind it, working yarn through, and snug it up. Behind, snug it up. Behind, snug it up. Behind, snug it up. Behind, snug it up. And we're just going to go right to the end of the marks, the marked pegs. Okay. And then we just put it on top of the last peg like that, tighten it up, and then I'm just going to come over and knit this over to hold it on the loom. Okay, and then to finish the cast on, we're just going to go over and U-wrap all the pegs. So just a U-wrap on them. And you want it nice and snug, but not so tight you can't knit them off. But the snugger it is, the better it's going to look. So make sure you don't have any really loose loops. Even if you have to cast on again, it's better not to have any loose loops. And this one's really nice and tight. Come on, come over. Okay, there we go. All right. Now all we're going to do is come back over the number 1 and the number 2 peg and just knit them over like that. And then wherever the working yarn on is peg 1, we go over peg 1 and 2. This is the owl eye stitch. We're doing an owl eye house sock. Okay, we're on number 1. We go over 1 and 2. Now don't let this be too tight. Okay, make sure it's loose. You can even pull it to loosen it up a little bit, but you want to go loose. And then over 1 and 2. Over 1 and 2. As you see, we're not knitting the whole loom. We're only knitting half the loom right now. I have lots of videos of owl eye if you want to look at owl eye done. And you can also slow down this video if you need to. There's a little gear, bottom right hand corner, or if you're on an app, it'll be in a different location, but there'll be a way to slow down the video. Okay, so we're on peg 1. We go over 1 and 2. And there. And always check my work about here because I don't want to keep going on with my house sock if it's going to be way too loose and it's looking good. So I'm happy about that. Okay, now we're just going to go back, and what we're going to do now is we're going to do our first short row. So to do the short row, we knit over this last peg, and then what we're going to do is come back and pull it tight. This is a German short row we're doing. If you want to, you can do a wrap and turn method. I like the German short row. So now I've got a little V here, and it's light color on here, but you can see there's a kind of a V that's pointing this way, and you can see the space there. And then you want to hold this tight and knit it over. You have to work a little bit to get it over. It's going to make it look really good, so that's what you want to do on the short row. And we go over the 2 pegs, and we're just going to do owl eye all the way to the other end. So So we're just going to short row our toe. So I'm on peg 1 over peg 1 and 2. Okay, and now with this peg, I'm just going to come over it and then I'm going to pull it into the German short row. So I'm just going to pull it and I'm going to get the V here, and as you see I'm pulling it so it's coming right to the front. I'm pulling the yarn right to the front of the peg, and this is what's going to tighten it up so that you have a really nice short row. And I'm going to hold this one tight when I knit it over. There we go. And then go right back into the owl eye. And just knit to the other side. And so we're going to keep picking up the pegs and adding them into the short row until we get to the end. We're not going to short row these 4 pegs in the middle. That's the same when we do the heel. We're going to leave those pegs alone too. Okay, so after I knit this peg over, it's the second one from the end, I'm just going to pull it into the German short row. And there we go. And then we knit that one over nice and tight. And we just knit to the other side. Okay, so we're just going to keep picking them up on both sides until we get to there. So I'm just going to put it on pause and then I'll meet you when we've got them all picked up. Okay, so I only have one more to pick up. Let me come down and get that picked up. And here it is. Pulling it into the German short row and knitting it over. And now that we've done that, we just do the owl eye stitch. Down to this peg, which is the last one on this side that we short rowed, and now we're going to start picking them up. So I'm just going to come over here and pick it up. Now, just going to keep it nice and tight too, so I'm just going to pull it a bit snug when I come back over it. I want to keep it nice and tight so I don't get a hole. I know some people do other things, knit on other pegs to make it tight, but I don't. I just keep it tight as I go. And then we're just going to come back down and pick up the next one. So here's the short row, and we're going to pick that up now. And sometimes they're tight, but that's how I wanted it. So I'm going to pull it a little bit tight again. I don't want it to, well, that didn't work very good. I don't want it to have a very big hole. There, let's pull it tight now. I want it to be looking good. Okay. And so we just go down and we pick up the next one. Tight. Okay, now we're going to pick up this one. And I have to work it over because I did it really nice and tight. There we go. And I'm going to pull it a little bit. I want it to be nice and tight. There we go. And like I say, if you like the wrap and turn method, you can use that one. Doesn't really matter what short row that you use. The stitch matters though. If you didn't want to do it in owl eye, you could do it in E-wrap and it would work, but U-wrap won't work. It does work with some modifications, but it doesn't do as nice a toe. So okay, and picking up the next one. Okay, so I'm just going to put on pause because I'm just going to keep picking them up until I pick up the last one, and we will catch up there. Okay, so here I am picking up the stitches, and this is the last one. So I come back over and I knit it over, and this would be the tightest one because I pulled on this really hard to tighten it. And I'm just going to put them over that and like this in 2 motions. Okay, there we go. So that's over. So now what I'm going to do is just do 2 rows of owl eye. So we're just going to knit around and go all the way back. And we can be a lot looser now that we've done the short rows. Okay. And then back. And so I'll just meet you back at the other end. Okay, so I'm just about back doing that row. And I'm just going to knit it over. Whoop. Get it over there and come back. And I always go in too to have it more secure. And we can take a look at what we got here. There's our toe right here. So that's it. And then all we're going to do is we're going to attach it all the way around the loom and keep going. That easy. So I take a look with over the black one to the other side to see which one is the opposite peg, and this is the opposite peg. And so then I go down, I go follow the line of stitches all the way down to the end, and then that's the first one I put on. And all I'm putting on, and I'm just going to get this one on first, all I'm putting on is the 2 stitches from the cast on. So you look at the chain cast on, you just want these 2 stitches right there. I'll get this closer so you can see it, and these 2 stitches. So just the 2 stitches from the cast on, and you put them on all the pegs until all the pegs have some yarn on it. So I usually take my hook, and if you've used the 5/8, you'll find this is looser to do when you do it, just because your stitches are bigger. There we go. And we just get it over. Oh, for heaven's sakes. It should go over easy. There we go. That looks like I only got one over there. Yeah, I missed one. You don't want to miss one because on the other side you're going to have a loose loop hanging down there. You want to make sure you get both of them. So you just take your time and get them on. Start on this side. There's the 2. I can see better going this direction. There we go, because I'm at an awkward angle. So you just keep going till you get them all on, and I'll meet you when you have them all on the loom. Okay, so now that I have them all on, and if you find it's a little tight, you could always do another row or 2 of owl eye, because it all depends how tight you're knitting and what loom you're on too. Okay, so we're just gonna go around now. So we just do owl eye and we just keep going around. So I'm just going to do a few rows of owl eye, and then we can take a look at the toe and how it looks now that we've joined them together. So put you back on pause and I'll keep going. So I'm just going to be going around and around. I'll show you when I get back to here, because I'll show you how I get rid of this. You can just weave it in. I just have a way I do this when I'm doing owl eye with something. So I'll meet you when I get back around here. Okay, so here I am getting close to the end of the row, and I didn't want to show you, you probably already knew this, but when you take these over, you take them over together as one, the 2 loops from the ones you the cast on edge you attached. So you can take them over one at a time if you want, just like that, or both together. Depends how tight they are and what you're more comfortable with. And so see, it's a little bit tighter to take them both over. Okay, and so now I'm going to do something with this one. So I do the owl eye, and then I just go over, and I'm just going to take this yarn and take it over at the same time, and it's just going to work it into the work. So take it over, And then I move it over to the next peg, and I do my second wrap on this one and come over and meet up with it. So it's just a way of doing something with it so I don't have to weave it in. There we go. And then let's bring it over here, do my second wrap on here. There. And do my second wrap on here. And so it's just a way of getting rid of this yarn. I just work it in with my work as I go along, and then I won't have to weave it in. Okay, so anyways, I'm just going to keep working with this and weaving it in. I'm going to go around and around and around the loom for a little bit until we can see what the cast on edge looks like compared to the other edge in the sock. And you can see we have a nice little toe here. Get closer so you can see it. And like I say, you can do it in E-wrap too. I like Owl Eye. It's more spongy and more cushy sock. But in the past, I've always done it with E-wrap, and it works just fine with E-wrap. Owl Eye is about the same length as E-wrap, but it's tighter. It's as tight as U-wrap. So it's a tighter stitch than E-wrap, but it's just as long. So you just do the same amount of rows and you can attach it on. With U-wrap, U-wrap's a lot shorter. So you have to do more rows at the beginning and more rows at the end of doing your short row, and you won't have as nicely a cupped toe. And so I don't really like using U-wrap with this toe, but you can, and that's how you would do it. To have a few more rows of work to be long enough to attach it on the other side. Okay, so we will meet up in a few. Okay, so here I am, and I've done a few rows, so you can see there we go. We've got a nice little toe coming through here. And we have no seams or anything, so it's just nice and smooth on the foot. And I'm going to show you what it looks like, because now we can see where it joins. So here's where we were doing our short rows, and here at the back, or here we go, here at the back, here's where we joined it on. So here's where we joined it on, and as you can see, looks nice and smooth all along there. And then as we move around, here's where it was already on the loom. So all down there, you can see, just very nice. Now if I'd used an E-wrap cast on, which is very loose, you would have seen on the side that we looped it over some holes in there. So that's why you don't want to use it. You want to use a nice tight cast on. So there, I think I gave you enough tips for the toe. I'm going to release this part of the video as just a toe video for people who don't want to do the whole sock the way I do and just wanted to see a different toe. And so yes, I'm going to say again that you can use E-wrap, and you would use E-wrap and do it pretty much exactly the same, just using your E-wrap stitch. If you use U-wrap, you can't really do it the same way. What you'd have to do is, just before you do your short rows, you'd have to do a few rows of U-wrap, then do your short rows, and then a few more rows of U-wrap. You won't get as nice a cup shape. U-wrap just isn't long enough. Or you could just go right into your short row and then just before you join it, do a lot of rows. But you won't get as nice and even cup. So this is a lot better stitch to do with either owl eye or E-wrap. I mean, it's a better technique to do with either owl eye or E-wrap to get a nice toe. Okay, so I'm going to pause it here and do a few more rows, and this is the end of the video if you're just watching it for the toe video, for the toe with no seams and no drawstring.